Welcome once again to another edition of Let's Play WCCW 1983. We're back again, continuing to relive the one territory in particular, and that is Dallas, Texas. That is World Class Championship Wrestling. But I just wanted to make mention to the fact that initially this series was supposed to go until I felt like it couldn't go anymore. And unfortunately for those who may be a fan of the series, I feel like it's reaching that point, that we may be getting to the point of no return. We may be getting to the point that says that it's time to stop. But that doesn't mean that this is the end of the territory system, because initially the other plan was that once WCCW was over, I would go find another territory and go into that territory. And with that being said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because once I close the book on World Class Championship Wrestling, this series continues with the next territory that I picked the book. At this point, I don't know where I go next. You know, much like the series with Billy Garcia, where we talk about the old school territories and the bookers and the wrestlers that made the territory happen, this is also giving you, the viewer, a history lesson on the past, and hopefully making you realize everybody has a beginning. But at this point, we could go to Portland with PNW. We could go to Central States Wrestling in St. Louis, to Tennessee with Jerry Jarrett, to Tennessee with the Fullers. There's a whole host of different places we can go, but at this point, I don't know where we would go. But what I do know is this, that wherever we go next, we're going to start from the beginning, just like we did with World Class. And we're going to build something, hopefully, worth watching. So with that being said, let's get to this week's episode of World Class TV, as we are still with World Class Championship Wrestling, at least for now. So let's see what happened on this week's edition of World Class Championship Wrestling. On the pre-show we had Bobby Fulton and Bob Bradley go one-on-one. The reason for this is basically because over the last couple of weeks, a host of people have been stolen from me, from the territories that have been increasing in popularity and rising in status, and I'm just doing it as a precautionary measure, I guess you could say, just in case the poaching continues. This way I can know if Bobby Fulton and if Tommy Rogers, because Tommy Rogers is also competing later tonight, if Bobby Fulton and if Tommy Rogers can sustain singles matches on their own. And it looks like, from what I can see, Bobby Fulton is at least halfway decent in singles competition, with a pretty good match on the pre-show and a big win for Bobby Fulton. Yep, Bob Bradley got broken fingers. That's okay. And now we move to the first match on the TV for television, and that is a television title match between Chris Adams and Killer Tim Brooks, and Chris Adams once again retains the WCCW Television Championship. And now we move to the interview position with Mark Lawrence, as Mark Lawrence is with David, Kerry, and Kevin, the Von Erichs. Kevin is no longer North American champion. David still holds the Texas title, and both the Von Erich boys Kerry and David hold the NWA World Tag Team titles, as they won it this past Sunday at the March edition of Star Wars. But they don't have the titles with them tonight. Because I don't really know how it worked with the NWA titles, if the champions carried them with them all the time, or just when they were making a title defense. But either way, the NWA World Tag Team Champions are Kerry and David Von Erich. And they talk about their win last Sunday at the big event. And Kevin talks about coming up short against Michael Hayes. Of course, it was a dusty finish. But either way, Kevin is no longer the North American champion. Michael Hayes is the world champion here in World Class. But they continue and talk about the ever-evolving feud between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I'd give them the freedom to build up the feud however they feel necessary to build it up. As we continue on the show, we see Bugsy McGraw going up against Sean O'Reilly, and Bugsy McGraw gets the victory over the kid from Canada. And speaking of a kid, Buddy Rose makes his debut here in World Class against Shane Douglas. And actually Buddy Rose does pretty well in his debut here in World Class, which is a breath of fresh air for me and something I like to see. And speaking of that, we get introduced to Buddy Rose's manager, Percy Pringle. As Percy introduces Buddy, this is how I would make Percy introduce Buddy. I walked through the door a few weeks ago, and I kept telling each and every one of you people that I was looking for a new client. But there was nobody in this company worth my time, patience, and ability. And that's why I made a phone call, and I brought somebody in from a place where it's worth my time, where everyone is worth my time. And then Buddy Rose starts building up Portland, his hometown, where he is king, where he is the leader, where he is the best. And it's time to prove why he is not just Mr. Portland, but why he will be Mr. Texas and Mr. World Class. And now we move to the final match of the night, as it is the number one contender opportunity to face the television champion Chris Adams in 3 weeks at the next Star Wars event. And King Kong Bundy wins the Battle Royal. That also featured the likes of Chavo Guerrero, Mondo Guerrero, The Spoiler, Matt Bourne, Thunderfoot 3, Tommy Rogers, and also Buddy Landell. El Hijo de Tejas improved his performance skill. It also featured El Hijo de Tejas, as you can see right here. Tommy Rogers, Wendell Cooley also improved. But the final four included Chavo Guerrero, Matt Bourne, and The Spoiler, with Chavo being the final elimination and The Spoiler getting the most eliminations over the course of the match. But either way, over the course of the match, King Kong Bundy wins and is the new number one contender to face Chris Adams in 3 weeks at Star Wars. With a final rating of a 70, we increased our popularity in 10 regions. And once again, not just stability, but consistency is a big part of this season and has been since the start. As we continue to build, I would hope as we continue to build something special here in World Class, and we continue on for the future here in World Class. But all I want to say is this: though I may be insinuating that the season's coming to a close, I still want to hear from you. Who would you like to see here in the World Class territory? And also, you could even let me know down in the comment section what feuds you would like to see, or what matches even, that you would like to see between now and the end of the season. Let me know down in the comment section below, because as always, feedback is more than welcomed and appreciated. But if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later. Before we go, I just want to mention that it's not always that even though I dropped the title of how I would book it, I still believe that these seasons are sort of how I would book it, because either you guys decide when I stop by, if you're not watching it, then it may not make sense for me to continue, but it also could just be that it was a bad episode, or I took too long to publish the next episode, and you guys are just not used to seeing it. Either way, both of us have control over when these series end, and very soon, at least 2 of them will not be around anymore. I'm just deciding which ones will continue. At this point, I'm deciding which ones will continue and which ones won't. Let me know down in the comment section below if you have a preference between WCW 2000, TNA 2016, World Class Championship Wrestling 1983, and the WWF WCW Invasion, as to which season you would like to see continue, and maybe which season, if you had a preference over which one you would like to not see continue. Let me know down in the comment section below, and if you like the video, leave a like, and I'll see you next time.